If you liked this episode of the Hockey IQ podcast, please leave a like, a comment, and especially review our podcast. If you truly listened all the way to the end and you're listening to this right now, you enjoyed this episode. Please go and give it a 5-star review. That helps us out more than you know. Thank you so much and look forward to the next one. On the Hockey IQ podcast today, we bring on Anthony from Hockey Psychology. Anthony, super excited. You've got some fantastic videos out there, especially on Instagram and YouTube. Would love, for those of us that are archaic and don't understand the ways of the internet and hang out on newsletters and email all day, because, I'm old now. What do you got going?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It's about time. I've been following your stuff for a long time, which is fantastic. So, yeah, we put out a lot of content throughout the season and a lot of content even for the off season. Throughout the week, we usually do something for everyone. We Once a week we have weekly recaps of basically just everything that went on in the NHL. And then throughout the week, usually one or two videos, team breakdowns or player breakdowns that strongly align with what you put out. And it's I've been doing it for close to 2 3 years now, full time, which is fantastic. So I love doing it. I'm excited for the season because it's been a long and boring off season. I'll tell you that much.
Well, always excited to have a good Toronto boy on the show here. Fantastic city, one of my favorites to go visit. So excited to have you on. I would love to just dive straight into it. So you mentioned as you were kind of organizing this a few areas, and one of the ones that really overlapped with what I've written is Celebrini's rush game. Like I remember watching it with the Chicago Steel as a 16-year-old, so 2 years before his draft year, and it was unbelievable how developed it was. Like he understood spacing. Like what the classic thing that I highlighted was a lot of people they see the room and they go and take that room. So
Yeah.
you basically run into your own teammate's lane, mess with their stuff. But he was so advanced where he would hold the D in the middle, wait till he committed, dished it, and understood his role was then okay, I got to bust to the net. So it was like unbelievable early understanding of the game, whether it was natural or not, I'm not sure. But clearly he's thinking the game the right way. So I'm curious for you, when you've been watching Celebrini, what are those details that stick out that make him such an elite player in general and rush attacker specifically?
Yeah, so we just did a video on celebrating in this off season, and biggest thing for me is just uh, like he kind of stacks all these little things, basically every approach of his rush game that makes him just so hard to contain. And like even looking at the raw numbers, he was a better, if not just as good rush player as Jack Hughes, McDavid, Nathan McKinnon. So, and I'd argue that he doesn't have the straight line speed as McKinnon or McDavid, but he counteracts that or kind of leverages that with speed changes and a lot of anchor plays and delays and stuff like that. So and like some of these other habits too are just like attacking within the dot lane. Like even in some of the clips that we put out for this video and what I was sifting through just prior to like putting it all together. There's just such a habit of him taking the puck from outside the dot lane and then bringing it inside the dot lane. Just something simple like that, where now he's in the middle of the ice and he's entering the zone in the most dangerous part of the ice. So naturally, he's already sucking in like at least two or three defenders. And there's a couple of clips. I think one that we pointed out in the video is one against Calgary, I believe, where he takes it outside the dot lane, inside the dot lane, and as soon as he enters the blue line, you literally just see four guys collapse in on him. And then he's got the skill, he's got the awareness to at least get rid of the puck at the right time too, which is also very important. He doesn't usually engage in a lot of, you know, one-on-ones where you're trying to go under the stick or through guys because he understands that's a low percentage play, right? So he's very smart in that sense that he knows the limits and what he should do in certain situations, and he plays around that. So Those are just some things, like some habits that I think he stacks that are really good. And then you throw in some things like speed changes and delays, which I think are just essential to any rush game to kind of uh, put you to the next echelon. Because if you're just going full tilt down the wing, there's no kind of attacking on an angle, no linear crossovers or anything like that. You become easy to defend. So Celebrini at 19 going into this season, he's already doing all these little things that I think are just really good when it comes to creating good habits in his rush game, and those are a big reason why.
Yeah, a few that I want to highlight, like he's just constantly making the puck like in a more advantageous way. So like he
Yeah,
takes the puck from outside to inside. He's making his teammates have easier lives because he's drawing defenders to him. Like it's kind of like chess. Like you need to eliminate pieces before you dish, before you make the next move. Um, and the other piece that really stuck out to me was like he does very little one-on-ones. Like he can do them, but he understands the situation, has really advanced awareness of the game. But also like what conditions do you need to create before you start attacking one-on-one, where you actually have a much better chance to beat someone one-on-one? Like for me, that's one of the biggest things for youth players is seeing
mhm.
them go one on one all the time. And,
Yeah,
you get lucky and you feel good, especially at the younger ages where the defenders don't know what they're doing.
yeah,
But as you go up the level, people know what they're doing. They know how to stop you. Hitting comes in, and that's an aspect too. It's like one on ones really are about 8% success rate. So you really have to change the conditions into your advantage before you even do attack that. So, like making sure you've got a good speed differential. Like that's a
yeah,
huge thing. Or like the delay game. Like you don't have it. Well, how else can you create the speed? It's either you're speeding up as they're staying the same or slowing down, or you're slowing down as they're staying the same or speeding up. So creating those changes of speed and delays. And then that kind of things makes me think of like it's one thing to have an asset like speed, but the second thing to actually utilize that well and with brains and smart and have good hockey psychology and hockey IQ, right?
yeah. There you go. What a plug right there. Yeah, but I think he's also a very fast skater. It's not to take away that he's not a fast skater, because I think he is definitely in the very elite when it came to his speed burst last year from the NHL Edge Stats. I'd have to look it up exactly what it is, but I mean, he's always creating with his speed. It's just he knows how to weaponize it, I think, better than most, especially at his age. And yeah, I wonder what the actual success rate in the NHL when it came to like successful one-on-one beats, because I can't imagine it's more than like 3 or 4% or anything like that, because the defenders are so good at gapping up. Everyone's a great skater. Everyone's good stick. They've seen everything before. They know what certain players like to do. Like even McDavid, who's probably the best stick handler in the world, probably has the biggest speed differential on most players. Um, like he probably takes the cake in that sense, but even him, he's not always engaging or looking for a one-on-one where he goes under the stick, tries to beat a guy like that. Like he's always, I think the best players are always weaponizing their speed and game off the rush by using delays and waiting for the support, because that's where the real danger is.
Celebrini, for me, is the most exciting young player. Bedard's also fantastic, so don't want to get away from that. But I'll
Yeah,
take Celebrini any day of the week. Like his cognitive development for his age is Sidney Crosby like. Like there's reasons why he's up at that level. Bedard, just the way that he plays the game at the speed, kind of like McDavid, where he's one of those very, 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 very few that can match the hand speed and the foot speed together.
yeah,
Um, but I remember Foligno, like his first year with the Hawks when Bedard was a rookie. He's like, I have so much to teach you. And he was like mentioning, like, I don't think there's enough time. So
yeah,
there's like, he's obviously trying to take him under his wing, and Bedard will be just fine, over a point per game player, an all-star and all that. But like Celbrini's brain is just unbelievable in how he plays the game. He's a great study for anyone. Like he does have speed, but it's not like game-breaking speed that he has, where it's kind of unrealistic for people when you're studying a game. Like watching McDavid's like cool, but try recreating that. Like it's just
so
not
hard.
very realistic. I'm like, go watch Lars Eller. Like that's more realistic for most players.
Yeah, even McKinnon's kind of in that stratosphere too now. I think their speed is so overwhelming, it's unmatchable. So they naturally give it, or they naturally give themselves areas or places where they can where they're putting themselves in that just 99% of players are just not getting those opportunities because no one can match that speed. Yeah, like it's fun to watch McDavid, but very, very almost impossible to replicate. And yeah, a player like Lars Eller or a role player is almost always better to. That's why I've always loved Sidney Crosby's been my favorite player growing up, and I've always loved his game, not only just like his playmaking aspect, but just his they call him the superstar grinder for a reason, right? So just how he's able to protect pucks and use his edge work below the goal line. That's always been like one of my favorite features of watching him play. And I think that's a lot more not really, I don't know if relatable is the word, but I think it's more transferable into other players rather than this raw overpowering speed that like some of these newer guys have, like McDavid and McKinnon.
Yeah, and then there's the other aspect that new players are bringing to the game, which is like new ways of utilizing skating, for example. Like I think of Cale Makar and how he's doing the Mohawks constantly. Like Mitch Marner's another example of doing the Mohawks constantly. To which now it's frustrating for us youth coaches as players overutilize it, where it's like that. No, that was not the situation to do this. But like, there's a lot of good benefits to figuring out new ways to utilize skating. I think back to defensemen eliminating as many crossovers as possible. Like that's a big thing. And guys like Makar being able to, and even I think Marner's the best at this is like using the Mohawks very tactically to be able to keep vision to the fullness of the ice.
Yeah,
Because like there's a lot of research that's going on around scanning. So soccer's kind of done it. Now it's coming to hockey. Um, and that's just the flick of the head, right? The shoulder checking, whatever you would like to call it. And while it's super important, it's I think the value you see is really just being able to keep as much vision as possible as long as possible. And some players are able to do that with their skating and their body orientation. So I think it's really cool with Makar. I think you may have highlighted it with Makar as well, of just how he's using his skating in a way that sets up players. And then you think about also from an example, the latest rookie of the year, Lane Hudson, like his skating, despite being 5'8", probably on a good day, uh, was
yeah, they,
able to be one of the best defensemen.
yeah. He's another guy where I mean he's been in the news lately because I don't know if you saw the comments his dad made about him. I guess joking around, but also maybe not joking around about him switching to becoming trying to join Team Canada because they didn't invite him to the I think it was the orientation camp for Team USA. So he said that and it kind of caught news, and now I think Lane's doing a little bit of damage control, but he is so good at a ton of things as well. Like Montreal as a whole, for me, is going to be a very exciting team to watch. I wonder how they do, even with the pressure of coming into this year. But yeah, Lane Hudson. We also did a video on him in the summer as well, and how his skating just sets Montreal up for all three zones essentially because he's transformed every way in which they can attack and defend. And I find with Hudson, he's less I don't want to say dynamic, but like less. He doesn't use his edges in the same way that Makar does. I find he's more. Uh, he aligns it more with like Quinn Hughes in the sense of like how he's more explosive and like laterally. It's hard to explain, but you'll see Makar use a lot of 10-2s and all that, and Hughes can do that too. But when he's on the blue line and he's trying to beat a guy out, it's a lot of like head fakes one way and then explodes into the middle or explodes down the wall, and then uh, it just their execution of how they do it is a little bit different in their approach, but the end goal is still the same, which is interesting to kind of watch. But Makar is the first defenseman I've seen in at least in my time watching hockey where he uses a lot of mohawks and a lot of uh, edge work to kind of just beat guys clean, and it's it's why I think he's probably the best in the world. I know some people have uh, some doubts about whether his defensive game can kind of align with what he can do offensively, but I still think there's no one that controls a game like Cale Makar.
Yeah, it's amazing what those guys can do. And then for the rest of us, especially as we get older, us guys that are done playing, our hips don't exactly work the same way
Yeah,
as they used to. But
one
it's
mohawk, it's like I'm out for a week and a half.
yeah, doing a mohawk and I'm like, ooh, that didn't pop right. Yeah, but it's amazing. And to your point of like Lane is such a chop chop chop. It's kind of like basketball where he's like squaring you up or like he's making you commit to something. And then when you
Great way
commit
to
to
put
it, he's got the other thing he can pull to, like which half the time is kind of his primary, like what he actually wants. I feel like Makar is to the point of like, okay, I'm going one, and if you take it away, I've got two. But if you don't, I'm taking it. It's
it.
that like just the game starts to slow down probably in about year 3 and 4 for most NHLers. And I think that's kind of where Makar is right now, where the game just is slow and he's got enough explosiveness. And for me, with the difference in the skating is like Makar is a constant glide, like he's constantly gliding versus maybe and you're going to see players eventually get there, but a lot of times you get rookies in and it's still chop, chop, chop. Like Carbonneau with St. Louis just got drafted. Like he's a super choppy guy and he just needs to get his glide out. And a lot of it has to do with like strength and positions that you can hold. So a lot of gym work goes into that. But it's amazing to see how players use their skills and then set a player up knowing that I've got these options in my back pocket, or I'm doing this because I want this space, but currently you're in that space. How do I get you out of it? And it's like moving the chess pieces around the chessboard,
Yeah,
which is super fascinating.
it's I like that you brought up that chop chop chop. That was kind of the word or the description I was looking for in Hudson's game, because there's definitely fluidity in his game. I don't doubt that, but there's it doesn't the way he executes it is different from a car in that sense, and I think it aligns more with Hughes. And I also think with Hudson, what makes him really good, especially on the blue line, is that he knows when to like get rid of the puck as well. He knows how to dish and get it back in certain areas that still keep him a threat. So like even it could be as simple as knowing that if you don't have that lane to make a juke, like he gets rid of it and then immediately gets back open again to get the puck back in a more advantageous position. I think even as a young player that's as talented as Lane Hudson, and he knows he can probably get away with it because he's so talented. But understanding that at that level, you gotta know that you can't always be trying certain things like that, and knowing when to get rid of the puck so that eventually you can get it back in a much better spot.
Yeah, Hudson's an elite at the give and go game, and like a lot of players don't realize this, but getting rid of the puck and passing it actually opens up the game for you
Yeah.
because no one's trying to stop you to where you're going. Like they might give you a little bump, but they still need to have, let you go where you need to go. So by passing and moving, you're actually able to get to spaces you normally wouldn't get to, and then get a puck back, and boom, you're in a great spot to make something happen. And the benefits from that angle of passing as well, it's not just pass and like, oh, let's go watch her pass. It's great. Like pass and then go move to a space that's dangerous, something that's threatening. And if the defense takes away, now cool, you've created space for your teammate. If not, well, you've created fantastic space to get a puck back for yourself. So there's so many benefits. I call it like the freedom of movement. Like your freedom of movement is so much greater off the puck than on the puck. And
Yeah,
everyone focuses the play on the puck.
and that's the biggest thing too, right? Is 99% of the game is played without the puck, and it's all give and goes. It's all plays that you can make when you don't have possession. I think we just did a top 10 video of top 10 players in the NHL going into next season, and for me, David Pastrnak last season. I mean, all throughout his career has always been amazing at it, but like I didn't truly realize until I really dove into the film how great he is with his off puck routes and how much he's able to create, even with you'd argue a not elite supporting cast over in Boston. I know he's playing with Morgan Geekie for most of the year, um, and Geeky looked pretty damn good with him. So it was, I think when you watch a guy like Pasternak, who's an elite goal scorer, elite playmaker, a lot of it is, dishes. He's carrying the puck in the middle, dishes it to the outside wing, drives the heels of the defender, stuff like that. That just opens him up for a split second, and he was the top, out of all players, he led the league in 5v5 scoring. So that's pretty impressive to do with his current roster that surrounds him. And I think that's a big testament to just his off puck skills and how he's able to find, those soft areas of ice to put up points and score goals.
Yeah, your time with the puck, I was looking this up the other day, like in the NHL is less than 2 seconds. Like only a
Yeah,
few of the superstars average more than 2 seconds per puck touch. So it's
yeah,
happening one, two, and it's gone. So how your off the puck game has to be great. Your give and go game has to be good. Your ability to support the puck has to be really good, and such that off the puck stuff leads to more on the puck as well. So a lot of benefits there. Talking about just like off the puck work, I always think back to another player that a lot more people can emulate with Alexander Barkov. Like he's
oh yeah,
fantastic two-way player, but also just like how he positions himself off the puck to support his teammates, whether that be in the breakout or F3 in the offensive zone. Like he's above the puck, he's supporting. Curious to your thoughts. I know you've done a deep dive or two into Barkov and what he's doing out there in Florida, and obviously off the ice, he's an unbelievable culture setter as well.
yeah. For me, Barkov, I had him in our latest video. I had him as the fifth best player in the world. I think he could probably be on some nights the best player in the world just because of his impact in the game. But I think Barkov's game and his ability as the F3 to read situations. He's the foundation and anchor of Florida's game, and Florida's game is obviously the king of the NHL right now, and it's going to be the standard going forward. Everyone's going to do a copycat system. Everyone's going to try and emulate Florida's success, and the Panthers play a game where their forecheck is super aggressive. Their D's are aggressive along the wall. There's no hesitation in the pinch, and that's what makes them smothering to play against. But there is no hesitation in their pinch because they always have that F3 in the right spot. And when Barkov sets the tone, and when he's on the ice, there is it's just a continuous wave of pressure from Florida, and he is the anchor in that wave of pressure. And I think without him and without him being on that team, I don't think they're probably close to as effective and as dangerous as they are. But he just controls the entire game from the middle of the ice, and I think it starts with the forecheck. But then he's doing things through in the entire 200 feet of the ice that are just so good, and so many little things that make Barkov irreplaceable. And I think we're going to see a lot in, at least this upcoming year, a lot of teams try and emulate Florida's game and just the importance of, the F3 in that role. And I think it's becoming more and more prominent as the game gets faster because you're going to have guys that need to make those reads a lot faster, make those adjustments, and understand if they're going to play that aggressive, that F3 has got to be really on top of their game and their reads in order for it to work.
I like the way you put it. Like he controls the game from the middle of the ice. Like naturally, you're going to go to the outside and maybe the offensive zone, but as much as humanly possible, he's in the middle of the ice. He's kind of the spoke of the play, or like he's right, or like he's in the middle. He's the
Yeah,
guy completing all these triangles that you talk about. Like someone's got to be in the middle to complete the triangles. Uh, like from a ability to make passing possible, someone has to be there. And he's just
yeah,
so good at being reliable, kind of like Patrice Bergeron was for so many years. Like he's old reliable. You could throw a puck there, not even thinking or looking, and he'll get a puck. Just
yeah.
because he's created an expectancy with his teammates. I think there's a huge valuable aspect to that is like your teammates know you're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You're reliable, consistently there. There's an expectation. So you're going to get more pucks. You're going to get more puck touches because you're consistently doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to the same spots over and over again. Like you have the same ability to put yourself in the spot where your teammate looks up and like, oh, hey, there's Sascha Barkov. Like I would be an idiot not to pass him at this point.
Yeah.
And he just like elevates his competitive advantage on the ice just by being the guy who's consistent and reliable.
Yeah, for me, he's like the best connector in the game. He connects the game really, really well. And that's again the role as the F3. Like he knows, he just has that sense of like when to pop in onto the wall and give support, or like when to stay in to the middle. And Florida likes to overload one side of the ice because they have guys that are dogs. They can win puck battles. They know how to support each other. But Barkov, it starts with Barkov, and when I say connector of the game, like even if you want, like let's say there's a play in the corner, right? Like he knows the spacing and how to give proper support to that player in the corner, and either go from low to high or keep the cycle going. Like he's just really good at those little reads and those little things. And I think it's just like essential kind of. It's an essential workload of the F3 anyways, but I don't think there's a player in the world who executes it better than him.
Yeah, he's there's reasons why he's the only one that seems to be able to do that, or one of the very few that able to do that. Easy to talk about, hard to consistently do on the ice, especially if you're trying
Yeah,
to
it's
score
so easy.
goals and like you get excited and you're like, well, if I go to this space, but then kind of breaks down your game by trying to do too much or going to spots you don't normally go to, or you're leaving your teammates a little high and dry as they really have to find a tight window or really have to find a hard path to get the puck to you.
Yeah, even if I mean you're playing beer league, or even if you're playing competitive, like it's so easy to drift into spots that are like not lazy, but drift into spots that are out of position, right? Like if you're as an F3, if you kind of start diving in and then your timing on the dive in isn't perfect, or you keep gliding into the space where eventually you're gliding yourself out of the play or essentially into coverage. Like he's just so good at like stopping up in those spaces and providing support. And then if that space is taken away, he's good at again getting on the wall or something like that. So for me, I think even though he sacrifices a lot offensively and he doesn't have the stats of some of the other guys, I think he's a top 5 player in the NHL just because of how important he is to his team, and what he does on a nightly basis for his team to win games. And I think that's what sets him apart from other players.
And it's extra hard for us players that have coaches yelling at us to say, move your feet and work harder. So I automatically want to be moving rather than just staying in a good positioning and just
Yeah,
maybe making micro adjustments. So just to throw that out there for food for thought for everyone. Another area I really wanted to touch on was another thing that we've seen, which is elimination of the slap shot. Like it's such a rare thing in the NHL. Like even like Patrick Laine rarely does it, and he's got a bomb. It's almost like a snap or like a half clapper. It's never like the full big windup, and you never see someone really like coming down the wing, loading up the slap shot and firing it. It's
yeah,
kind of gone. Yeah, it's just been lost. Like a few, you'll see a few here and there, but realistically you just don't see it. It used to be all the rage.
yeah. We did a video on it a year ago or close to it now, which the quality isn't as great as I'd like, but it's crazy how just the game has evolved over time. And we might have another video coming out on that too, just how shooting has evolved. And you've had some really great pieces of just how certain goal scorers are creating shooting lanes and finding ways to beat goalies. And you've had them on here too, but along the ice has some great stuff in terms of beating goalies, and certain techniques that players are using in the modern game to beat goalies. And with the slap shot, it's a lot of it is the game has just become so fast off the rush and so quick that you just don't have the same time that you once did to take a slap shot. And also a lot of it too is how good goalies are. You need to be way more deceptive with your release and your shot than you used to be. And a slap shot is probably the most telegraphed shot in the game. I mean, you're winding up and you're getting ready to T1 home. So unless you have a shot that is can beat a goalie clean, even if he sees it coming on his angles, squared up, uh, there's just the percentage of success when taking a slap shot is very, very, very low. Like Ovi, maybe Pasternak, Stamkos, even like these are guys that are set up into their offices, and they really know how to finish from that spot. But yeah, you're not going to see a guy step into the blue line anymore, come in and take a clapper and beat a goalie clean. There's just way better ways to beat a goalie now.
And goalies have gotten a lot better in their positioning, protective gear, etc., how they play it. Super critical, and you've got to find ways to not telegraph. So the technology is another big piece. Like try try taking a wrist shot with an old piece of equipment where it doesn't bend at all. I think
Yeah,
at one point aluminum sticks were a thing in the NHL for a hot second, and
yeah,
now the technology where it's just so whippy and all you really need to do is just put some pressure and bam, it's gone. So yeah, there's that, and then to your point of you got to set up the goalie. So a lot of reasons why the slap shot may not be the best thing to practice over and over again, even though it does feel fantastic when you lay into one.
oh yeah, yeah. And it's even curious to hear your thoughts on this. But like, where do you think shooting is going in the future of the NHL? A lot of it is snapshots and wrist shots, but even the stats. I've been looking, trying to find it, like which ways players are scoring the most in the NHL. We know obviously where goals are scored the most, um, but I'm always very curious to see like certain ways in how players are shooting it. Obviously, a couple of years ago, the biggest wave was the toe drag release with Matthews and Bedard, but like finding certain ways to how players are getting pucks through traffic, or beating a goalie clean on a breakaway, or certain stuff like that. Like, what are your thoughts on that, and even what you're seeing in the younger age, and what you see when you watch games, and what sticks out to you?
Yeah, so a few things with that is goal scorers shoot low. That's a known thing that most goals are scored the bottom half of the net, right over the goalie pad, between the legs. And I would say you want to be shooting off the push leg, like understanding the goalie, like how does a goalie move? Like which is the leading leg, the pad that's going to go down, and the one that's going to go down last, and where do you find spots? A lot easier many times for lefties with that one, so that's why I feel like there's a little bit of an advantage over the righties
Yeah,
that way. The other piece is youth development has changed dramatically when it comes to net sizes. So you're seeing these smaller nets going in. So shooters naturally have to be better. It used to be you just lift a puck and the goalie literally is not tall enough and he's like up here playing like the setting game in volleyball. Like it's just awkward and weird for them. And if you ever watched a mite or squirt game, everyone knows that there's no B or C level shooting chances. Like everything's A level.
yeah.
So you
Go
just
on
lift
our
it.
net, I get a goal.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you just shoot it high and it's extremely difficult. And now with proper sized age appropriate nets, it's more realistic for shooting. So you've got to pick the right spots, kind of know where those are. Along the ice is still a great thing. When in doubt, throw it in their feet. So for shooting, it may not be so much a difference because the technology's kind of leveled off. Like I'm not sure there's another thing we can do with the technology. You can, especially for NHLers, you can choose your kick points, you can mess around with blades, the whole 9 yards. But it's like, how do you go about it? So like shooting off a carry, everyone knows is really difficult. Scoring off a pass is a lot easier. So it's like, how do you go about increasing your ability to score? And then there's obviously all the mental side of things of like, you should probably slow down when you're in tight, not get more excited and rush it.
Yeah,
So figuring out how that works, like, so that's when I think about how is shooting going to continue to evolve and change. We've seen a lot of the big things. I don't see anything bigger coming in, but always the same thing. And this kind of leads into just the skill development of like, can you shoot while in motion? Can you shoot off both feet? Can you pull? Can you push? Just having that variability, the ability not to tip off the goalie or to fool the goalie a little bit, in order to get better shooting percentages.
yeah. I think that's that's a good word of using, or a good word to use, is variability and just versatility. I think the best goal scorers are so versatile at all kinds of ways to score goals, whether you're from far and close, and then like different ways, again, pulling it into your body, being able to shoot when pucks on your back foot, certain things like that that just make that really separate good goal scorers from great goal scorers. And then you have the entire other element too of the cognitive element of being where you need to be to score goals, and how to attack the blind side of a defender's shoulder and stuff like that. So interesting to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, and then that kind of leads us in the idea of like there's only so much you can do when it comes to physical development, but there's still so much for cognitive development. Like I did think even just of some of the players we've talked about, Lane Hudson, right? Like from a physical standpoint, and even Marty St. Louis is now up in Montreal, and it seems like they've had good success with some smaller players, but also with Cole Caulfield. Like you've got to find ways to be effective with whatever your tool set is, and like how can you use your brain to put things into your advantage. For me as a 5'10", 155-pound player, I had to approach the game a little bit differently. Like, how do I get guys into bad spots? How do you set up where they're going to be crossing their feet so you can go the other way? So I think there's a lot of benefits there, and talk a lot about knowledge of the game versus knowledge in the game. Like knowledge
Right.
of the game, that's us watching it from the rafters. Like everything's super obvious. Like no big
Mhm.
deal. I can totally do this. And then you get into the actual situation. You're like, oh, can't see as well. Oh, I have to worry about controlling a puck. Oh, there's my window. It's now gone. And just the speed of the game. It's like, how do you go about finding ways, and I call it targeted attention. So like target their focus, target the attention of the players to the right information. And I think it's a very good starting point to have resources like hockey psychology, hockey IQ, where you can go and get a better grasp and understanding of the overall game. How does this all filter together to start to attune you to the right things when you actually go and play the game? And then it starts to click a little bit faster just by having a little bit of a knowledge of the game, studying the game, and then starting to figure out from there of like, okay, what does a good play look like? How can I set up a player? And then you can start to tinker with that in your skills training or however you want to put it, technique training, etc.
There's for sure levels to it, absolutely. Where I think on hockey psychology we kind of we touch upon the surface. Maybe in certain videos or certain breakdowns, we get into the nitty gritty a little bit. But I think a resources like yourself and even guys like I'm sure you know Daryl Belfry and some of his books, like that's really advanced stuff. But it also, when you read it and you once you get attuned to kind of the basic stuff, and understanding certain areas where you should be and where how the play flows, then you can kind of like take the plunge into learning how intricate it really is, and how much intent and purpose is behind some of the best players in the world, and how they practice it and how they execute it. And even for myself, like there's so much that goes into it. There's so much that you can learn by just either reading, watching, or engaging in certain type of content. And uh, it's awesome to see like how far it's come, and also how far it can still go. Right. I think there's a lot of room for that side of the game to develop. And there's certain ways that there's obviously you have guys like Adam Oates who work with a lot of NHL players, and if you see some of the stuff they just started posting on Instagram, see some of the stuff that they're working on, it really looks like, oh, they're just like doing like chip plays, like this looks really simple. It looks really um, like almost too simple for the caliber of player that they're working with. But it their stuff is not skill development. They already have all the skills. It's more so getting your mind and your habits to a spot where it does become habitual to how you're executing. And I think it's just very interesting to see the layers and the depth. And I think you got resources like yourself, Joe Belfry, along the ice is really great too. Obviously, and then Adam Oates and all those guys, for for really diving into the nitty gritty and understanding different ways in which you can improve your game.
Yeah, I enjoyed so I had a friend who also worked with Taves as he was doing the comeback this year, and it was like just catching bad passes, like just the basics. Like you don't throw a bad pass to a good player and being able to catch it one hand and behind you, in front of you, etc. And just having the simple yet effective things really tuned in where it allows you to play the game at a really, really fast pace, like the
Yeah,
NHL is, or whatever your level is. And I always laugh because every once in a while you run across players that they're like, well, this is way below me when they get just like a normal coach. It's like, oh, we're doing this. And then having like not, I mean, it's kind of frustrating because you're like, you're basically saying this is below me.
yeah,
And then you watch some of the NHL, like Crosby, Kucherov. Like Kucherov will spend an hour and $600 for a skills guy just to basically throw him pucks and pick it off the wall and be the best guy picking up rims in the NHL.
that's the
Uh,
best he's ever spent.
yeah, and it's like then you get these youth players like, why am I doing this? And it's like, well, the basics allow you to do things fast. And I think about Leo Messi. I think he's the greatest athlete I've ever seen. Nothing against Tiger Woods, etc. But like that guy does not do anything fancy tricks. Like he played on the same Barcelona team as Ronaldinho, was doing these flicks and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and Messi was just as effective, even though he had much less moves, but he knew how to set guys up, had his route tree of like, I'm gonna do 1, 2, or 3 based on what I see in front of me. And he used to do it at an unbelievable speed. His fundamentals were just so much better than everyone else's. That allowed the game to just freely flow. So having the idea of just doing the basics extremely, extremely well is an absolutely separating factor for all players.
Yeah, I think it keeps the game really simple for players too, because you kind of get bogged down by certain. I feel like if you practice certain elements of your game and you become hyper focused on, okay, I gotta really transfer this into my game, and then you start overcompensating in a way. Like I find some players do that too because they've learned or they've gotten better at a certain skill, but then the application isn't in the right spot at the right time. But they want to feel justified and learning it or either executing it, and it kind of like snowballs into they're not deploying it properly. And I think when you learn the basics and there's a definitely an art in keeping things simple in that sense that even the best players in the world, like they're just like Kucherov, for example, like you said, just learning or not learning, but honing in on the skill of just shooting off the back leg, that slingshot release. Like he's 100%. The guys that talked about it on spin chiplets as well. Like he would just do it for hours and just ripping pucks in the same way, taking pucks off the half wall in the same way until it just becomes instinctual. Like it becomes not even a second thought, and that's why he's so good and so much better than everyone else.
I think you mentioned something really good, which is it's technique within game application. Like it's a very specific moment. It's something that they've seen and like, oh, I need to pick this little bit out and work on it very specific.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not like, oh, I'm going to work on my toe drag and now I've got to figure out the toe drag. I've got a college teammate, blew out his ACL. One year was his left, the other year was his right. But it was because he practiced the toe drag a ton and he was really good at it. So you know, as a hammer, everything looked like a nail to him when it was
Yeah.
not the right answer. So it's like, as coaches and as players focusing on working on certain situations, maybe not full like technique hardcore, but like game situations, whether you're picking up a puck off the wall, off a rim, and understanding, okay, where does this go? Why am I doing this? And understanding that and marrying the two together. And then that's where you kind of come to that targeted focus like, okay, I'm doing this because I see this, I can do that and just marrying the two together at all times. So there is that transferability. Nothing as a coach is more frustrating than working on something, going into a game and having the perfect opportunity for a player to use it and then not use it at all. You're like, we just worked on this for a full hour of practice. And then you're like thinking back to yourself, like, oh, I just wasted an hour because I forgot about how do I actually make a game actual where they're getting the correct reads in the environment. That's the knowledge within the game to actually transfer over to a game and better performance and better outcomes and more wins and goals and etc. Whatever you want.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying too. Just a few minutes back about like mohawks and understanding when to apply it, right? And understanding the right time and spot to use certain things like that. So I think it's just as important as mastering certain skills. If you don't know when to use it, then what's the point of having that in your arsenal if it's just going to put you in vulnerable spots?
Well, this has been an awesome episode. Is there anything we missed? I feel like we've hit a lot of great areas and bombarded people with many takeaways.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I'd like to ask you a question because I'm always curious to see like, you know, who are who's your favorite player to watch in the game and why? I always like asking people that question because I like it kind of tells me like how what they're looking for in a game and almost what they either see in themselves or how they want to play or how they want to project the play or even coach and stuff like that. So yeah, who's your favorite guy to watch and and why?
I've got a wide uh, swath of players I like to watch for different reasons. Like some people will find this completely out of the blue and probably never even heard of this player, like Mark Kastelich. Like I
That is
like
crazy.
watching him every once in a while
Yeah,
because like you watch him, and you're like, yeah, if you were just going off of pure technique and like other players have been around the PEP and whatever else way more, like they're smoother, whatever. But Mark, he's just an effective hockey player. I mean, he's a 6'4", 6'5", heavy guy, does
yeah,
not have the hands to match, but he makes the most of what he has. And he's a highly effective guy. He just got a 3-year deal with the Bruins for over $1 million.
yeah,
Uh, would you call him the most skilled? No. Effective? Yes.
yeah,
And then even before that, like Patty Maroon, like chubby yet effective. Like
yeah,
that
yeah.
guy might have been the slowest skater in the NHL.
He was. He was absolutely the slowest skater, but he knew where to be. He knew how to leverage his skill set, which is that's the game, right?
Well, it's hilarious when him and McDavid were back on the same line. I think it was 2016, 28, somewhere in the 2016 to 18 seasons. And it was the same exact line. And like, huh, like the league's fastest player with the league's slowest player.
Yeah, and I
They
think
were operating in different spaces. It was perfect.
yeah, I think he had a good year statistically. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think he did have a good year.
So yeah,
Or at least,
so I'll watch guys like that and just people who are a little bit more realistic for the players. So like Lars Eller,
yeah,
he's lost some physical tools, so he's not at the same level. But like 3 years ago and prior, like he was a great look because he was like middle on like all of his talents.
yeah,
But he had a really nice brain to go with it, and you could see like he's not effective all the time, like hit and miss. I mean, there's those middle of the lineup guys for a reason, right? Like they're going
yeah,
to be really successful, they're going to make some mistakes, and how do you bounce back from that? And then you obviously have some of the top of the lineup guys like one of the best skaters and the guy to like I wish I could hold posture as well as he does in Willie Nylander, like unbelievable. So like his skating technique is fantastic. How he's postured, so he allows like all of his skills to show up. Is fantastic. Then obviously Marner's fantastic. So like you've got all these different players and different reasons why. But yeah, I'll go back to Mark Kaslich. Everyone should watch that guy just a little bit
yeah.
more.
I gotta watch more film on this guy. Apparently, he's
He's a
yeah.
bottom sixer. You're not going to see him doing McDavid like I'm going to be
Oh
successful the
no,
majority of the time, but you'll see like what does it look like? Why do NHL coaches trust him? Why do they go and play him? Or
yeah,
like you see a random guy as on the that front the power play, and you're like, huh, he's like on the bottom lines, and suddenly he's on a top power play unit.
yeah.
So like
That's
Nason, or however you pronounce it, out in New
nation. Yeah,
Jersey, like yeah, he's another fascinating watch. So like guys like that, where it's not like I would still enjoy all of the best players in the world. Like don't get me wrong, but when I'm looking
yeah,
to go and study for whatever reason, I'll go down to players you probably maybe not have heard of.
yeah.
It's not
I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's exactly the answer I was hoping for, and I didn't even know what the answer was. I was hoping for a crazy answer, and you didn't disappoint.
beautiful. Glad give some people some wild gooses to go chase. So
Yeah.
this was fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg, for having me. It was a blast.
That concludes this week's episode. Thanks for joining us here at Hockey IQ. If you haven't already, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and drop a review. If you want to be a great teammate, even recommend us to a friend. You can follow us at Hockey's Arsenal on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the website hockeysarsenal.com where you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter. You won't regret it. Catch your buttes here next week for a brand new episode.